Malthusian Time and the Illusion of Productivity. One of the strangest features of modern civilization is that people increasingly feel unproductive while simultaneously doing more than at any previous point in history. The average modern individual answers messages instantly, navigates vast informational systems daily, consumes oceans of data, multitasks continuously, manages digital identities, monitors global events in real time, and performs forms of cognitive labor that would have appeared incomprehensible to earlier generations. Yet, despite this constant activity, many experience a persistent sensation that they are falling behind. This feeling is not accidental. It is one of the defining psychological symptoms of Malthusian time. The problem is not merely that modern people work hard. Human beings have always labored intensely. The medieval farmer, the Roman soldier, the dock worker, and the factory laborer all understood exhaustion intimately. But their exhaustion often possessed visible completion points. A field was harvested, a wall was constructed, a battle was won. Physical tasks naturally impose boundaries upon labor. Digital labor rarely ever ends. Modern productivity increasingly resembles an asymptotic pursuit. One approaches completion endlessly without ever fully arriving. Emails regenerate, news refreshes infinitely, notifications multiply autonomously, software updates continuously, careers demand perpetual adaptation. Skills become obsolete rapidly. Entire professions mutate within single decades. The finish line recedes as one approaches it. This creates a civilization psychologically trapped inside permanent incompletion. The industrial worker of the 19th century could at least leave the factory physically. The modern knowledge worker carries the factory within his pocket. Even leisure becomes infected with latent obligation. A man watching a film may simultaneously feel anxiety about unread messages, unfinished tasks, missed opportunities, neglected networking, career advancement, side projects, financial optimization, personal branding, or even self-improvement. Modern consciousness increasingly exists under conditions of ambient guilt. There's always something else one could be doing. This phrase alone captures enormous portions of the contemporary condition. Under Malthusian time, possibility itself becomes oppressive. Historically, scarcity constrained ambition naturally. Most human beings throughout history possessed relatively fixed life trajectories determined largely by geography, class, tribe, climate, inheritance, or necessity even. The modern individual, by contrast, exists within a culture constantly advertising alternate selves. You could start a business. You could monetize your hobbies. You could learn another language. You could optimize your physique. You could build an audience. You could move countries. You could invest more intelligently. You could consume more information. You could become more efficient. You could become more disciplined. You could become more successful. You could become more. This endless horizon of potentiality creates a peculiar form of existential inflation. The modern individual no longer measures himself merely against neighbors or family members. Through digital exposure, he compares himself continuously against the statistical outliers of civilization itself. At any given moment, there exists somewhere a richer man, a stronger man, a younger man, a wiser man, a more disciplined man, a more attractive man, a more productive man. Global hypervisibility transforms exceptional individuals into psychological neighbors. The result is profound temporal insecurity. No amount of effort feels sufficient because comparison itself possesses no upper limit. This condition is intensified further by the collapse of visible labor. Historically, productivity often manifested physically. A completed building stood visibly against the skyline. A forged sword existed materially in the hand. A harvested crop occupied space. Modern labor frequently produces abstractions, spreadsheets, metrics, presentations, emails, brand management, data organization, algorithmic optimization, symbolic manipulation increasingly replaces tangible creation. This matters psychologically because human beings derive satisfaction partly through perceivable transformation of reality. Many modern workers therefore experience a haunting sensation that their days vanish into systems too abstract to emotionally register as meaningful accomplishment. They're busy constantly yet existentially unconvinced by their own labor. And here a critical distinction emerges between activity and progress. Malthusian time creates environments where motion itself becomes mistaken for advancement. Individuals overwhelmed by infinite informational inputs often resort unconsciously to low resistance forms of pseudo productivity, always checking and refreshing and organizing and responding and monitoring and updating and researching endlessly. These activities generate the sensation of engagement while often avoiding the discomfort required for genuine depth or creation. This explains the peculiar rise of productivity culture itself. Entire industries now exist to help people manage the consequences of living within Malthusian time. Productivity gurus, optimization systems, habit trackers, planning frameworks, dopamine detoxes, focus applications, digital minimalism courses, life hacks, biohacking protocols, and self-management philosophies all emerge from the same underlying condition: human beings struggling to govern finite consciousness under conditions of infinite cognitive demand. The irony is almost tragic. Civilizations solve many physical labor problems only to generate immense psychological labor instead. The modern office worker may not break stones beneath the sun, yet he often experiences a more diffuse and difficult exhaustion: cognitive fragmentation. His mind becomes divided into hundreds of tiny unfinished loops, competing simultaneously for resolution. This produces a subtle but devastating effect upon identity itself. Deep identity formation requires continuity of attention across time. Great musicians, writers, philosophers, inventors, craftsmen, theologians, and scientists historically developed themselves through sustained immersion within narrow domains over long durations. Malthusian time erodes duration. Modern individuals increasingly consume fragments of thousands of things without surrendering fully to any one discipline deeply enough for mastery to emerge organically. Attention skims surfaces perpetually. A civilization of infinite access risks producing shallow omniscience and deep ignorance simultaneously. One knows a little bit about everything and very little completely. The smartphone intensifies this fragmentation dramatically because it collapses distinctions between work and leisure, private and public, silence and stimulation, thinking and reacting. The device becomes a portable portal through which civilization continuously pours into consciousness. The individual no longer inhabits merely his local environment. He inhabits an endless global stream of demands, controversies, opportunities, tragedies, entertainments, and comparisons. Human nervous systems did not evolve for planetary scale informational simultaneity. This explains why many people feel permanently psychologically on. Even in silence, the mind anticipates interruption. One begins checking devices reflexively, not because meaningful information always awaits, but because consciousness itself becomes conditioned toward expectation of stimulus. The ancient fear of boredom mutates into inability to tolerate stillness, yet stillness, historically, played a profound civilizational role. Philosophy emerged from contemplation. Religion emerged from contemplation. Art emerged from contemplation. Even scientific breakthroughs frequently emerged not during frantic stimulation, but during periods of sustained mental wandering and uninterrupted concentration. Malthusian time, therefore, threatens not merely comfort but depth itself, and perhaps nowhere is this clearer than in the modern relationship with reading. Deep reading requires surrendering consciousness voluntarily to linear duration. One must move sentence by sentence, page by page, thought by thought. The process resists acceleration beyond certain biological limits. This increasingly feels intolerable to minds conditioned by algorithmic novelty. Many individuals now discover they can consume 6 hours of fragmented media effortlessly, yet struggle to read 20 uninterrupted pages of a serious book. This is not a trivial cultural shift. It represents a neurological reconfiguration of attention itself. A civilization unable to sustain concentration eventually struggles to sustain serious thought, and serious thought remains necessary precisely because Malthusian time continuously pressures individuals toward reactive existence. The person who never pauses becomes governable through stimulus alone. Thus, the central challenge of the modern age may not be productivity in the conventional sense at all. it may instead be preservation of sovereign attention. The disciplined individual increasingly resembles a territorial defender protecting finite consciousness against industrialized fragmentation. Every act of sustained focus becomes implicitly rebellious against systems designed to monetize interruption. To read deeply is now rebellion. To think slowly is now rebellion. To remain silent is now rebellion. To concentrate fully upon one thing for extended periods may become one of the rarest human capacities of the 21st century. And this reveals the final irony. Under Malthusian time, the most productive individuals are often not those who do the most things. They are those who successfully prevent unnecessary things from entering their consciousness at all.